So good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and tonight I'm joined by Mark and JR of the band The Mercury Impulse. So they're a duo that does like droney, instrumental type of music, and they have a debut record this Friday. So I'm here with the both members of the band. So first of all, guys, how are you tonight?
Hi, Hector.
Hey, Hector, thanks for having us. Doing all right.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you for doing this. So we actually been trying to do this interview for 2 weeks, but we like there was a week I think I was sick, and then we moved it
Yeah.
for the next week, and then a tropical storm was near Puerto Rico, and I was feeling bad. I remember I told Liz, who does the a lot of like the PR, like please let them know that I want to talk to them. I'm not making excuses because I feel bad when I have to that stuff that like that happens. But yeah,
No problem.
I wasn't gonna interview you guys sick. It's not fun.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, but you know what? That night before the tropical storm, I could have interviewed you that day because the electricity didn't went out that day. So, oh no, I think it was gonna be the other day. So thank you. 2 weeks later, we're finally here to talk. So you know, the album is pretty cool. I listened to it, and it's the type of album. I know it's electronic and it sounds like, obviously, I also, like Alex, heard a movie score, but not also movie, because I play a lot of video games. I used to play a lot of video games. So part of that music also could translate to video games. I don't know. Does any have any you guys been gamers in the past?
I I played pinball when I was a kid. I don't know. I'm I'm curious. What kind of game? What
So, for
style of game do
example,
you play?
there's this, when I was listening to the album, I thought of two games in particular. One called Deep Space, which is a
Huh.
game like it's like you are, it's like an alien ripoff, basically, because there's like a ship and there's like some creatures or something. So it's pretty claustrophobic. And then this music feels sometimes like it could feel that claustrophobic vibe. And the other game that I thought of was a video game called BioShock, which has two
Hmm.
parts. And the first BioShock, it's a game that the premise of the game is that there's this airplane or something that crashes at the ocean, and all of a sudden the person who crashes finds out that there's like this underwater city, and on this underwater city there was a creator, and there's like some weird creations, and it's very freaky, and it had music, like your music could go into that, as well as movies. So now
Okay.
I'm giving you ideas of what to do, like maybe in the future.
I'll
Licensing
take,
stuff.
yeah.
Yes. So I know the name the Mercury Impulse, because I know sometimes names are random. Is there a reason that you picked that name in particular?
Hmm. Chair, do you want to?
Well, Mark and I were going back and forth with quite a few, when it became apparent that we were going to have to name this thing, we were going back and forth, and I found myself just deferring to Mark just had like really great choices, and I was just like, oh man, I'm just gonna choose this one because it's really a good one, and that one was Mercury Impulse, and then he was just like, well, I want to put a the at the beginning of it. I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do the
I
Mercury
think the
Impulse. That's fine.
always is better. Like,
Yeah, it does. It does fit it. It does fit it better. You're right. You're
But
right. He
Hector,
was right. I was well into it.
but Hector, I think the fact that you brought up a video game that has to do with deep space, and there, as we were you know working on some of the songs and listening to some of the mixes and maybe sharing them with our partners, um, this conversational thread did come up about that feeling of some sort of bleak sci-fi film of a ship being lost, in deep space or something. So the fact that you brought up like that, that alien-esque video game in particular, I mean, there you go. I mean, we definitely did have, this ongoing conversation related to that kind of topic. I think Mercury Impulse works on different levels. I'm not even sure if JR and I have talked about this, but one of the bands that I played in for a number of years, Anatomy of Habit, I as hard as I tried to not use a word similar to habit, and some of the thoughts that went into that band name, Impulse did keep tugging at me. Has to do with human behavior, but things that maybe are either so deep inside of you that you have the impulse to do it, or sometimes exterior forces kind of implore you or drive you to do something. So there's a bit of that inner and exterior tension, and I definitely like the idea that whether it's the moon or a planet like Mercury, that there are gravitational pulls involved and things that are out of our control. So those are, some of the thoughts that went into it as well.
Plus, we were working at a rapid pace. So, Mercury, very, very
Yep.
rapid. The
Yep.
god, very, but I think the space element of it, be it either interior spaces or exterior spaces, or art, consumption of like Tarkovsky films that we both really admire a lot, had a lot to do with. I was like, yeah, Mercury Impulse. This is like, it just felt very right. It just rang true from the minute I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it has like a catchiness to it. Like you want the catchy name.
yeah.
Sure.
And I guess the last thing I would say is that, similar to, I guess, an aspect of our working methodology, and how JR and I created this album, one of our rules, if not that we had rules, but we had an agreement, like, just not to overdo things, overthink things, be too laborious in anything we do. And so I think we, allowed ourselves that ability to not just get hung up and spend, 20 hours and, a million pages of notes. Like, well, I think our name should be this. Like, we just kind of went easy on each other and went with something that felt good for what we were doing. So
that makes sense. So basically, you didn't do like a tool, like overthink thing and get 13 years to put out an album.
Yeah.
No, it was
Something
like,
that.
it was a lot of. I feel like we had conversations about how contemporary life is a very busy and demanding sort of space. There's constant demands on your attention, and it's just grows and grows every single day. It requires you to be, just be in constant reactive mode. So what we didn't want to do with this process is to get into a deep reflective mood. We wanted to be very much in the spirit of like how we were both feeling contemporary times are in existence. So that was how the music aspect of it came about. It wasn't just like, oh, we're just gonna react really quick, bing, 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 like no thought. The thought went into it beforehand, that this is the way contemporary life is. It's very challenging. There's a lot of demands on attention, and there's constant impingement on your faculties, and so we just wanted to create in that with that structure in mind.
And actually, yeah, the type of music that you guys play, I mentioned like video games, but also like movies. Like it's music that right now it's in the band. I just think of like someone off the top of my head, Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails is making now more music
Yeah.
in movies. As
Mhm.
I just like saw last week that he's doing the new Tron soundtrack,
Yeah.
which
Like Hector, I really appreciate the fact that you brought up video games, because it was like
yeah.
it actually, that ties just so nicely into the narrative of what we were trying to, get across here. And neither one of us are big gamers, I don't think. Like I'm not a big gamer, but it makes sense because of what we were describing about this completely modern sound. What we were doing about just like reacting to just the basic fact of what is it like to be a human now,
Yeah.
right now. So
Yeah, I don't want to sound like Rigby. I admire Rigby out of the way. He said something that is very true in a video piece, that most of the younger generation consume their music through video games.
yeah,
There's a lot of like young people that first heard like a Metallica on Guitar Hero Metallica,
hmm
and there was the Beatles. So it's just a different medium from. I'm guessing we are more contemporary. I'm in my upper 40s, so we're more contemporary. Like I grew up more in the 90s, and the way that I consumed music back then was like we bought the physical copy, we listened to it. Music videos were very important, but like everything's changed with the streaming. And right now, because life is so fast, a lot of kids like discover music even through TikTok.
yeah,
Yep.
fast choices, yeah,
But
just
it,
lots
Yeah,
of fast choices.
yeah, and interesting that you bring that up, Hector, because that also is part of, I would say, a kind of a long-term conversation that JR and I have had, related to what we do, how we talk about our music. Certainly we both like physical music. Uh, I mean, this one, because of its length, it fit onto CD. Our bands have put out vinyl, cassettes, everything. But also just how we engage with all of that information. Like, I guess kind of building on what JR said, like I get the sense that neither of us wants to contribute um, to too much of the information overload outside of we're putting forth an hour's worth of music, and we're not trying to just bombard people with extraneous noise about the album. Although in a case like this conversation, when there's a chance to actually have a dialogue with somebody, and and maybe that does point to age in a way, but this is, for me, and I think for JR, a valuable way to have a more of a one-on-one. And I understand that this will make its way out and other people will hear it, but this I find great value in, being able to talk and hear, Hector, your interpretation, and that makes me think, and it spurs further conversations and thoughts and things that Jared and I will talk about. But as opposed to that, I guess a lack of desire to have to engage through so many different media, and just contribute to the glut.
there's
Just
too much stuff now.
Yeah,
I think there's
yeah.
too much social media. Like I
But
have a
all of
TikTok
this is
for
just
the
all of this is just a reaction. We're reacting and we're creating art,
yeah.
to as a result of all this information, all this overload. Like, how many different social media platforms? What are you reacting to anymore? Do you know? Do you even know what you're reacting to anymore? And
Yeah, sometimes you
so,
don't
in the
know.
sense of true art, it's just like in true art, we're creating something out of this circumstances, and then putting it into the circumstance, right? It's like, that's what I love about it. And I love being able to talk to you about it. It's
Yeah,
it's
me
really great,
too.
Hector, being able to talk to you about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember back in the 90s where the social media or our filing sharing system was mixtapes. Like we would
Yeah.
record. I remember like recording my favorite tracks out of all my albums into one tape, and I think the thing is that it took time. You had to invest in, even if you're like putting some music into tape, like like imagine some right now a young person, if he wants to like woo a girlfriend, like he'll just do a playlist on Spotify. I'm like, no, I had to think. I don't know about you guys, but I remember doing mixtapes, and like every song is like
Oh
it
yeah.
has to be in this order, so it will
Yeah.
it will let her know. So yeah.
And then
Yeah.
just designing a cover maybe, or writing everything out.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think young people are.
it was a great way to share music. And right now, like everything, it's at the click of a button. You want to see a music video, clicking YouTube. You want to listen to an album uh, at 12 midnight on Spotify, it's already there, which is, I remember growing up, like the day of the release, to me, it was a big fucking deal. Like,
Yeah.
like I remember, I don't think here in Puerto Rico they did, you remember they used to do that 12 midnight where you
Mhm.
went, like, where the big record was coming out, you had to do the line, like for
Go to Tower
Metallica,
Records and stuff.
the
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. Here in Puerto Rico, they
Yeah.
didn't do that, but I remember, I think, doing a line for, I think it was maybe for In Utero by Nirvana or something,
Uh,
which obviously I have the shirt. But yeah, it was like an experience. You bought the record, you took it home, you read the lyrics. Obviously, in your case, it's instrumental, so there aren't lyrics. But even though there aren't lyrics, because I've interviewed people that do instrumentals, like the music, even though there's no words, the important thing is how the music makes you feel.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
We're both big proponents of how you feel
Yeah.
about
Mhm.
things.
And like
And
kids, if you're watching this, you can, like, if you play video games and the music from your video game sucks, just put it on mute and put the Mercury Impulse in the back, especially if it's like a scary game, because this something about this album, I thought that every track almost blended into each other, and so it made it like it was like a one whole like big track, continuous
Yeah.
track. Was that something that you were trying to achieve?
we, I think that listen to it as a whole.
Yeah.
Our goal was to make a cohesive set,
Mhm.
an album, a set of songs that work together. There's a storyline running through it, sonically, dynamically. I think it probably starts a little more aggressively or a little heavier, builds up a bit, tones and textures change. Some voice does actually come through, um, and you see it. The arcs start to change, and so yeah, I believe that there's an intentional line running through it. Um, I think that any great album, whether it's one of JR's albums as Wrekmeister Harmonies or an Anatomy of Habit album that I've worked on, I mean those are meant to be stories or albums that have a storyline or some sort of intentionality running through it that they hold together. I haven't done much of my life musically that was meant to just be, well, here's a collection of songs and maybe it'll work as a complete listening experience. So I think Jer and I share that desire to have something um, with a greater thrust of storytelling. And you mentioned emotion, and as we started slowly sharing this album with people that we cared about, we started getting emotional responses. And that's also a critical part of the storytelling, or the this arc that we're looking for, this through line, is to move people emotionally. We do that with our other music that we work on, either together or in our other bands, whatnot. And that was really important. I know for me to start getting that emotional response. JR recently shared a response that just struck me very, very strongly, and in a good way, because I felt like this person who was responding to the song, that was a song that was really important to me on this record, like it did its job. It moved this person. So yeah, so there's that intentionality of how the album comes together and tells that story, but also the deeper impact that it could possibly have.
Which song was that moved that person?
Wow, it's Infinite Repetition. So
Yeah,
it's
that's a great one. Almost ending the record. And I
yeah,
like
it's
the album
the next to last.
Infinite Repetition. It sounds like something that you like just waking up every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, those track titles do have some direct connections to some of what JR was talking about, and this what we're faced with, and what it does to us, and
I can't imagine. I really can't imagine if there are any young people watching or this. I can't imagine
We
how.
are young in spirit, okay?
And
JR and
yes, we are
no
young
doubt.
in spirit,
No
and but I mean to actually be young and going through formative phases of your life right now, with just like all the horror of humankind available at the end of your finger. You can it's just there. Any kind of depravity that you want, and any kind of suffering, it's just there. And beauty's there. Like, if you're a young person, like I love you so much. If you're a young person right now, I deeply, deeply love and admire what it must be like to be a young person right now, trying to figure things out through this, hellish miasma of information overload. And so I think, to go back to what Mark was saying, there is an arc here, and to go back to what you were saying, Hector, there is an arc here. There's a narrative, there's a feeling, there's an emotional arc and an emotional feeling that we created here, and it was created it was intentionally created, and it was intentionally created in the conditions that society, that humankind is giving us right now, and that's why I feel like the title that Mark suggested of Records of Human Behavior is so apt, because that's exactly what this is. And the fact that you brought up video games earlier, it's just like, oh man, I was just like so like pleased to hear that, because it wasn't anything that I had thought of, but I'm so glad that you thought of it and shared it with me.
yeah, it's the thing is right now for people growing up, everything information is there, but also everything like if you do something, someone can record you, and like, so I'm glad that I grew up in the 90s, and all the stupid shit that I did, there's no video of that stupid shit I did.
Yeah, not only
And
document it, but they could just, anybody could just create you doing stupid shit now and
yeah,
share that. They can
they put
create like
AI me right
pornography.
now.
Yeah, just creating
Look at
like,
me right there in the back. That's my
yeah,
AI self.
yeah. Just like creating like humiliating pornography of you. I can't imagine like the tension and just like anxiety that must be creating. And what a fine balancing act it takes to come of age right now and to be, come out of all this unscathed somewhat. So it's like I just have like such a deep appreciation for young people. It's like, talking to you and talking to Mark about this is like, it's very, yeah, it's just like really cathartic to me.
Yeah, I have two young kids, a girl 7 and a boy 5. So
Wow.
They're living in a new world that is not how I grew up. So yeah, it's different things. So I have to adapt to
Yeah,
how
you
they're
have to
going.
adapt. You have
I
to
have to
adapt
adapt.
as a caregiver, as a parent, as a person who loves and cares for these young people.
Yeah.
Now you have to react, and now you have to be a part of this overload too. And that's what I
Yeah.
think this record is all about. You know, that's what I mean when I said it sounds very modern to me, because that was, you know, the situation that we created it. You
Yeah.
know,
And
those are the
on that
parameters of
note,
things.
yeah, let's look at the artwork and talk about the album title, because the album title really goes with what everything we're talking about, records of human behavior. I think that's it's because it goes with what we're discussing with modern and how like there's like everything is recorded right now. So tell me a
Hmm.
little bit about the album artwork, because it's it's pretty simple album artwork. It looks like I'm looking at code, but I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. So tell me, what was what the band wanted to express with this artwork?
Um, well, if you see the full, whatever it's called, wallet pack, or
Mm.
it's not a digipack. It definitely folds around, and it's an explosion. It's an exploding star. It's light bursting through clouds, which you can kind of see, or just aspects of the explosion. Um, but it's got a digital element. It's got shards of whether it's glass or metal or something. Um, and it does speak to that idea of the point of whether it's collapse or explosion, when the weight of all this information is too much to bear, and it can be, um, going back to even what we were saying earlier and what JR reiterated, the inner outer tension. It could be that celestial explosion. It could be
Mhm.
an internal emotional explosion when someone just can't, bear the weight of everything that's going on around them. I've always played with macro and micro and inner and outer tensions in artwork that I've worked on, and it definitely follows through with this. So yeah, the artwork is abstract enough, but it still plays on those tensions and the end result, I guess, of this overload, whether it's information, digital, emotional, societal, etc. And the title is, again, it supports that idea of this cataloging of all of the behaviors and the information and the data and um, the emotions and experiences. I don't know, JR, if you have a build on that, or
Oh, I can. I'm just sitting here, just like saying, like the interior monologue is just agreeing with every single thing you just said. You know, like I look at this artwork and I go, I think it's like, is this something I'm seeing outside in the physical world? Am I looking up into the
Yeah.
day sky in a storm or a night sky?
Yeah.
Or am
It
I? Is
reminds
this like
me of the Matrix a little bit.
Yeah, or is this like an interior burst of energy that's in these, the phone that I'm holding in my hand right now? Is this, is this like an impulse in my mind? Is this like, is it interior? Like, is it exterior? Is it out in nature? Is it in my device? Like, that's what that's what this artwork says to me. And when Mark first, sent it to me, I was like, yeah, this is it, And I love that it's black and white, because it makes you do the, like, the thinking, like, where does this
So,
go? Where do I
so
where do I put this?
did Mark, did you do the artwork for this?
Yes, I did actually,
Nice.
and um, I'll have
He
to
did
send you.
everything. He did he did the layout. He did all the artwork and all the yeah. He's just a genius.
I'll
Yeah. No,
Hector, I'll
no,
have to share like the
it
full
really looks
sort of.
cool. Let's look at it. Like now, you have the. Let's see if you can show the folded. So because I only have that part. Yeah,
Yeah, it's hard
yeah,
to. I don't know. I'm seeing my
yeah,
computer started up, so but
yeah,
it's. Yeah, I get
yeah.
the
No,
reflection on there, but I'll send
yeah,
you
yeah. It
an
looks
image.
cool. So we've talked a lot about like the power of like instrumental music, score music, like and feeling. And I have like two examples of two movies that like scores that evoke feelings. One is E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Oh
Every
yeah,
time I
Yeah.
hear that score, I cry because I remember watching that movie as a kid and crying when the alien goes away. Now as an adult, I think when he says like, "Will I see you again?" The alien will see like, "Fuck no, Elliot. I spent here a week. You guys try
That's
to
enough.
open me. Hell no." And the other movie that, like, if without that music, the movie wouldn't be the same, is Jaws. Like
Oh
without
yeah.
that dun 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 dun. Like
yeah,
if you take away that music, you just see water and people splashing. It's not the same. Like
yeah. The
Music makes
tension.
such a difference,
Yeah.
in film. It really does.
yeah, yeah. Recently, I saw this week the new Alien Romulus.
Oh, you saw it already? Ah,
I had to go the first week. I won't give you any spoilers, but
yeah.
the music in it is pretty great as
Cool.
well. Like you like it's pretty eerie and stuff. And so yeah, I just love music in movies, and I think it's something like I love it when I go now to a movie and it has like score and music like that, because I think almost like it's kind of like almost a lost art form in movies. A lot of movies right now have like music, but like music that has nothing to do with stories. Uh,
Mm.
I don't know. Uh,
Yeah.
so I like that when there's scores because, like for example, I didn't see the Deadpool and Wolverine, but I know they use some songs, but they have nothing to do with the story. Uh,
Mm,
they're just there
Well,
because
so
they're popular.
that's a whole other discussion. It's
Yeah,
about,
because
the
it's
use of
just popular music.
modern music in modern films, like Wolverine,
Yeah,
Deadpool. I mean, the music that's being chose for those films are definitely about like a part of, a commodity. They're
yeah.
another commodity in the chain of commodities for
yeah,
the systems that's producing these films. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that's good. I'm just saying that is what is going on. It's another item that you can put on the conveyor belt called going to the Googleplex to see the blockbuster film, right? So and I feel like what we're doing is more along what we were talking about earlier, where it's not about another item on the conveyor belt, another commodity. It's an actual uh, experience and an actual condition that we're trying to not only respond to, but now we're trying to generate as well.
yeah. And it's the album, it ends with like you got your longer tracks, and that's since if there's a lot of drone takes its time, but there's like subtle impulses and beats here and there. Like this is the type of music that you should listen to maybe with headphones,
Mm,
and like maybe headphones and like a low dim light if you're a masochist and
Mhm.
you want to be scared. But for example, like how would you say, like if you have to tell someone how to how to listen, have the best experience listening to the Mercury Impulse album, what would you say would be the best way?
I, I mean, first of all, I do think it is an album that can be get a benefit from like very intentional listening. So whether it's headphones like a decent set of headphones, or we had speakers in the other room, and popping yourself down on a chair or a couch and in between a nice set of speakers and hearing it. And yeah, lighting can be a little lower. I've listened to it in bright daylight though. You're going to get a great listening experience. The mastering that Colin Jordan did on this really captures the range that we're going for. There's some great low end, I believe, that speakers and headphones will pick up. We did ask him to make sure that, knowing that there are going to be people wearing earbuds, that do the best you can to master it so that the majority of people can have a good listening experience. I've heard it in the car, as you normally do when you're mixing and mastering. You listen on every possible format, and but I like hearing things through either good headphones or over speakers and really engaging with the album. That said, I've read while I've been listening to it, and it's it can be in the background, but I would never I don't know. My ideal thing is not to tell people to put it on and do something else, because I do want people to engage with it, and I believe that the music will hold up if people try to engage with it. So
just tell people, please do not put it as background dentist music.
Yeah.
Well, I think that people can actually benefit from, and I've done this, just putting it on, and you can get out of bed, put this on, and start living your life, go about your daily existence, and see what it does to you. How does it factor into opening a door, going out your door, the things that you see, you stop and get a coffee or something. What does that do? This whole, it can be part of a soundtrack to your existence, which I think is like totally a totally reasonable way to experience this. And an equally reasonable way to experience this would be like sitting down with a good set of headphones or a good set of speakers with proper lighting, and you're hydrated and you're fed and you're okay, and your mind is in whatever shape you want it to be in, and then also put it on and see what that does to you, or play a video game with already shitty sound like you were saying out there, and put this on and see what it does to you.
And I do agree. I've worked on several solo albums that were intentionally designed to listen to going about your day in the city. And I love the sonic accidents, not accidents, the accidents that happen when you're listening to something and suddenly you hear, the train go overhead, or an airplane, or machinery, or a conversation. I mean, I'm all for. So, but you're still like, I feel like when you're walking around the city, and I have listened to our album with earbuds walking around downtown Chicago multiple times as we were, kind of honing in on the final album. And so I do think it functions in that way, but you're still paying attention. You just have the opportunity for these unexpected extraneous sounds to enter the mix, and sometimes it's amazing.
I agree. I feel like it enhances the experience, whatever your environment that you choose to be operating in. I feel like this will enhance the experience.
I almost use like different music for different activities. So like early in the morning, I like to listen to stuff that's more like acoustic, and I'm not gonna put no Cannibal Corpse at 7 a.m. in the morning. So it depends on the mood of what I'm doing and things like that. But to me, music is pretty much I listen to music like almost 24/7. So I listen to a lot of music, different types of music. So it's something that it's ingrained and it's important to me. I like listening to music and just sometimes you can listen to music and probably if you're having a shitty day, you can put something on and it can lighten up your mood.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
That's the power of music. So so the album is out this Friday. You can pre-order it on Bandcamp. Also, like I'll post all the link for people who want to get that physical copy. It's gonna be on CD and
Yep.
also CD and digital platforms. I know that there's some music that is already like you stream so people can if they haven't listened to it. So before I let you guys go, since we've talked a lot about like movies and video games, like tell me which are your top 3 movie scores of all time and why, and we can go like maybe Mark can give his first one and then JR so can Mark can think of his second one.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
good idea.
I guess because we were talking about science fiction and Hector, when you brought up aliens, I mean, I do think for a good pick in that realm, I'll always talk about Blade Runner.
Oh
I,
yeah.
you know, I'm not sure that I go out of my way to listen to like Vangelis's music, but I remember because for many years you could only buy a re-recording of, I can't remember, London Symphony Orchestra or some orchestra doing it, and then there were bootlegs going around of the Vangelis original score, and then it finally got re-released many years later in the 90s, some late 90s. I mean, I think that's a great one for really guiding the mood of the film. And when that came out, I think it had an impact on me as a synthesizer score, as I was, new wave and early industrial was already out there. But yeah, it was a powerful, powerful score to hear.
Definitely.
That's your first. What about you, JR? Your first pick?
I'm gonna say this just really just came to me, but Risky Business, Tangerine Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something
Is
about
that the
that.
movie with Tom Cruise?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just
Back in the
remember
morning.
him sliding on his underwear.
yeah. They had,
Wow.
but the actual music was that had the Bob Seger
Bob Seger.
song, old time rock and roll song where he danced in his underwear. But the most of the score was done by Tangerine Dream, and there's that really great sequence when he's on the train, you know,
Oh yeah,
and
with
it's
Rebecca
just
De Mornay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then
I
there's also I
remember
think there's
being
also
young and
Phil
feeling
Collins
stuff
in
that
that.
I shouldn't be able to feel at that time.
Yeah, in the air tonight, I believe. Phil Collins was in that as well. That song. I'm
Wow,
not
I think
sure.
so, yeah.
Yeah, I think so, but I'm not sure. Yeah. So back to you, Mark.
Well, I was gonna say we could do a quick shout out. This is television, but Miami Vice, great,
Oh,
great music choices,
yeah.
starting with the pilot and Phil Collins. So I'll never pass that opportunity
Phil.
to applaud that.
Yeah.
A Clockwork Orange.
Oh yeah.
It's a soundtrack and a score because there's all of Wendy Carlos's synthesizer recreations of
Oh yeah.
classical pieces. But again, futuristic, like what a great use of songs that were 200-300 years old. Yeah, I guess. But
So great.
but projecting them into the future as played through synthesizer and
Yeah.
really well paced. I mean, I think Stanley Kubrick was fantastic with music, and his ability to have songs augment the storytelling. So
That's awesome. That's a great one.
So I think you picked already your 3, so we have 2 for you, JR, right?
I'm gonna say To Live and Die in LA with Wang Chung.
Yeah.
That soundtrack is pretty impeccable for that film. And that was what's his name? Exorcist. Why can't I think of his name? Yeah, Freakin'. Yeah, that Freakin'. Under and under appreciated Freakin' film, I feel like.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah. And let's see, my final choice would be a film I watched recently called The Tempest, and it had this Japanese band called Go, who did their Japanese prog from, and that was like 1982. Did the soundtrack for that, and that was great, really great.
All solid picks.
Yeah.
Like great music and Blade Runner. The first one. Did you see the newer ones, Mark?
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw them. You know, it's funny. I was working in a company, and there was this guy. It's a true story. He went to see that Blade Runner, and he had no idea there was an original. And he's like, "Oh, this movie sucked," and I'm like, "There was an original," and I felt the urge to slap someone. I'm like, "You idiot! Like, how can you go see Blade Runner 20 something and not know that there's an original one?" And like, I didn't understand it. Of course not, you fucking idiot, because you didn't see the original movie. Like, oh, like,
man.
like, how could you see the newer one? It just infuriated me. I think I had to tell everyone that day, like, oh my God, can you believe this guy? He saw the new Blade Runner and he said it sucked because he didn't understand because he didn't see the original. But yeah. So yeah, so Mark, JR, you know, it's been great chatting with you. I would recommend this album to people who like electronic music, but electronic score music, not like if you're expecting like super dance beats or stuff like that. No, this is not the this is not the record for you. This isn't the Chemical Brothers. This is more like moody like impulse. But if you like the type of music that we've been discussing for scores and even video games, I think you would dig this. So anything you would like to say to the people before we go?
Well, now I think we need to change our band name, like the Moody Brothers. Now I'm rethinking
the
this
Moody Brothers.
The Moody Impulses.
to appeal to the electronica crowd. I just want to say thank you, Hector, for taking the time with us tonight, and but also bringing your personal and your very genuine experience of the music we made and how you've interpreted it, and sharing that with us and letting us react to that and build a conversation around it, because that, again, that's what I said earlier. These are the important additions to the information that's out there, when you can have a meaningful conversation and hear how the music is resonating with people and what it means to them. So I really appreciate that, and I appreciate any chance where I can jump on a call with JR and see his face. And
yes, because you guys, I saw you guys are besties.
Yeah, we've been friends a long time, and it's really wonderful to be able to work with Mark.
She obviously hadn't had friends for a long time, because my best friend, I've been friends with him since the 2000s, and we even we love each other. But we even I remember in 2005 we went to our European trip for 3 weeks, and there was sometimes that we wanted to kill each other.
Yeah, naturally. That really means you're good friends.
Yeah,
yes, that
that's really means good. Like,
yeah, when you travel with someone. So people, do not sleep on the Mercury Impulse. The album is out this Friday, the 23rd of of August, I think.
23rd.
The 23rd. I'm like sometimes what day? The 23rd. So so again, JR, Mark, thank you for joining me here virtually. I'm not on my couch because it's hot.
Yeah, I was
I was
a
up on the
little-
couch. I didn't want to say anything.
No, sometimes I'm not. I put it's too hot sometimes to do it on the couch. But most of the stuff I do it on the couch.
we'll let
Yeah.
it slide this time. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So until next time, couchers. This is Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.